of Boxing Show on the Gruely True Sports Network. The Legends of Boxing Show is brought to you by the Retired Boxers Foundation and Replenishing Care. I'm your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster, and really pleased today to have what I think is definitely a boxing legend, 1972 Olympic gold medalist in the Munich Games. Went on later to fight Marvin Hagler in an epic three-fight war. Actually, I think he got a draw, a split decision loss, and we won't talk about the third one, Ray. But help me welcome to the show, 1972 Olympic gold medalist, Sugar Ray Seales. How you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great. It's a great day today. Yes, it is.
Oh, it's great to have you on today, and I know from a little research that you moved to Tacoma in 1965, and you were moving into basically a hotbed for amateur boxing. Do you want to talk to us a little bit how you got involved in boxing and maybe who some of your inspirations were?
Well, my dad was a fighter way back in the military in the Virgin Islands. We lived in the Virgin Islands. And then my brother, one of my brothers, older brother, got hit in the eye with a fruit. It's called a canap. It's a fruit in the Virgin Islands. And my mother's brother told her that there were special doctors in Tacoma, Washington, that could fix that eye. Well, they moved up in 1963, and they couldn't get that eye fixed. My mom decided to send for the rest of the family from the Virgin Islands, and I moved up to Tacoma, Washington in 1964. I've been there ever since. I learned how to box from Joe Cloud, downtown Tacoma Boys Club. I built the boxing team in Tacoma Boys Club. I boxed in Tacoma for 19 years. 430 fights, 19 losses, over 200 knockouts.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that Tacoma Boys Club, because after you, there was a ton of guys that came through there, anywhere from Rocky Lockridge to Johnny Bumpus. A lot of guys that ended up being world champions. What made Joe such a special trainer, and what made the Tacoma Boxing Club so special?
Well, Joe Cloud, he didn't know nothing about training. He knew a little bit about learning how to box. He tried boxing, but it didn't work. We didn't have a coach, so he decided to step up in there and pull his hand up and say, I'm going to be the coach. Well, not knowing what would happen in Tacoma at that time. But we ended up building a big team, downtown Tacoma Boys Club. Joe Cloud is the head coach. Just like you said, we had Rocky Lockridge, world champ, Leo Randolph, world champ, Davey Armstrong, Bumpus. We had so many world champions there. We came out with 2 Olympic gold medals. Here, let me tell you something, a story. David Armstrong and I went to the 1972 Olympics. Davey Armstrong won a couple of fights, but he didn't win the gold medal. He turned around 4 years later and went back to the next Olympics with Leo Randolph. He didn't win any more Golden Gloves, but Leo Randolph won an Olympic gold medal. So we sent 3 guys to 2 Olympics and come back with 2 Olympic gold medalists. Downtown Tacoma Boys Club, yeah. Rocky Lockridge, Leo Randolph, Johnny Bumpus, world champions come out of downtown Tacoma Boys Club.
All right.
Something that I opened up.
And a lot of people, I don't think, know this, but you went to the 72 Olympics, which we'll get to in a minute, but you actually could have qualified for the 1968 Olympics.
Yes. And that time, boxers, they say your boxer have to be 17. I was 16. I qualified. I would have been there with George Foreman. I qualified, but I had to sit down and wait another 4 years. But waiting just gave me the momentum to pick up myself, to get myself better, focus more, and pay attention to winning the 1972 Olympics. There's a story there. Listen to this story. My mother, she called the president, the vice president, and everybody because I qualified for the Olympics. She wanted me to go, but she couldn't get no one. She finally found someone in Portland, Oregon, that said, ma'am, all I can do is take your file out and put it on the side. But knowing that you're going to lose, it's going to go back in. They didn't know that I was going to lose, but they said that. My mama bought a plane ticket 6 months before I qualified. So she was already in Munich. I had to go get my mother and my gold medal at the same time. You remember that we had the terrorist killing in Munich.
Yeah.
I had to go through all of that and get my mom and my dad out of there. But listen, I wasn't coming home. until I got the gold medal because I knew I was going to win it. My mom knew, and we was there all together. Matter of fact, my father was there also. They sent him from the Virgin Islands.
Yeah,
so it was a family heirloom.
And that had to be huge for you to do that in front of your dad. But also, you talked about the Munich games. You want to talk a little bit about that? You had the terrorist attack. How did that affect your preparation? How did it affect you as a whole living in that Olympic village?
You know, it scared everybody else because you could see those the criminal. I mean, the guys walking up and down with submachine guns and everything. You know that it wasn't for you, but you had to stay down. You know, a couple of times I had to get under the bed because I had to protect myself. I called my parents and said, "Don't come, protect yourself, stay out." But you know, I didn't like it. But at the same time, I wasn't going to leave Munich without that gold medal. I knew I went for it. I went to win it, and I knew that I was going to win it. I didn't believe that I'd be the only American fighter to win an Olympic gold medal, but I knew I was going to be one. Why? My mother knew 6 months before I qualified. She bought a plane ticket.
Yeah, and when you look at your Olympic results, I know in the third round you had a close decision against Andres Molina from Cuba, and then you ended up beating the Bulgarian in another close 3-2 decision. What do you remember about those fights?
Well, you see, the Cuban, he died. He done killed himself. He died. I knew that the Cubans was the toughest team to beat in Munich. I knew that. So my mother was in the stands with the Cubans. As I was fighting the Cubans, my mother was beating up the Cubans at the same time. So we was there for one reason and one reason only, to get that gold medal. Then here comes the Bulgarian, Angel Angelov of Bulgaria. What a guy. Listen, we was battling each other for the first 2 rounds, and then I came up with the bolo punch, Kid Gavilan bolo. I dropped the kid with the bolo punch, and that was it. That said, you hang in there for the next round, but you have already won the fight. I knew I won.
Yeah, and what was that feeling like when you get the medal ceremony? They put you up there, they're raising the flag in your honor, your parents are there to watch it. That had to be the greatest feeling anybody could ever have.
Yes. The greatest feeling anybody could ever have, man. Listen, when they put that gold medal around my neck, I said, "Oh, Lord have mercy, I've done it." And everybody just went, wow. You see? But here's the thing. I take the gold medal now, and I do the same thing with it. I tell you this. You just won the championship fight. You're still in the ring. They push the podium in, and you step on the top rung. Now, just for that 1 second, and when I put the gold medal around your neck, all of a sudden, you fall into, you start shaking. You can't believe it because that just for that one feeling, that 1 second, boom, everything changed. And so, you know, I understood that. I knew why I was there, and I knew I was going to get that gold medal. My parents knew it also, and yes, we did it. Tacoma, Washington, never had an Olympic gold medal in the boxing, and I came up with the first.
Yeah, and then you decided to turn pro. What do you remember about the pro debut? I think it was in your hometown, or what was your adopted hometown in Tacoma?
Yes.
Against Gonzalo Rodriguez. What do you remember about that fight?
You know, it was quick. I wanted to be a professional fighter. I knew I was going to be a professional fighter. I wanted to be a world champ, and I knew it was coming. So I just had, with Joe Cloud and the boys club behind me, my parents, I knew I had a good chance of becoming a world champ, and that's what happened. I went 21 straight, and I lost my 22nd fight to Marvelous Marvin Hagler in Boston. Here what happened. I went to Boston. The people that I was with didn't understand what they was doing, so we took a fight on with Marvin Hagler in his own hometown, Boston. The place was cold. I was freezing, and when Marvin came in, he was sweating. So I knew I was in trouble at that time.
Yeah, and the thing about that first fight, wasn't that fought in like a TV studio or something? It was a fundraiser?
Yes, it was in Boston at a TV studio. I thought it was going to be a fundraiser, but it was a real fight. So I had to. It was like when Leonard fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler. They thought it was a show, and then all of a sudden it became a real fight. Well, Marvin was behind 4 rounds, and the same thing was happening here. I was behind, but ketchup was something else. I tell everybody ketchup comes in a bottle. So I had to move. My mom was saying, "Get him, son, and I had to change my attitude. Professional boxing, Marvelous Marvin Hagler got me there, but then he came back to Seattle 2 months later, and I whooped him, but it was a 10-round draw.
Yeah, and that was a
That's what they
fight.
say.
From everything I read, you kind of controlled the first 5 or 6 rounds. He came on strong. But, yeah, from everything I've read, it was disputed on who won that fight. And let me ask you this, and we'll lead this into the third Hagler fight from 4 or 5 years later. From the second fight, or those first 2 fights with Hagler, what was different about him by the third time you fought him, or was anything different about him?
I had managerial problems. They was taking my money.
Yeah.
They was bidding for this amount of money and paying me that amount of money. So they was taking my money. So I was up in there all by myself. The third fight, I had managerial problems. See, and I was at the time USBA middleweight champion and NABF North American middleweight champion. Marvelous Marvin Hagler needed one of those titles, one of those belts, in order to get the world title.
Yeah.
So he needed that. So he had to beat. Everybody had to beat Sugar Ray Seals because I was top dog. That if you beat me, then you're going to get a shot at the world title, and that's what happened. Matter of fact, listen to this. I went to London, England. I fought Alan Minter. I could have won that fight, but no, they needed to win that fight, so it happened. And then he went on and fought Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He won, but he lost.
Yeah, because actually, from what I remember about your fight with Minter, is you were actually the favorite going into that fight, and I thought you controlled the first 4 rounds, and then he hit you with a big right halfway through the 5th round.
Yes, exactly. And at the same time, we didn't know the rules in London, England.
Yeah.
See, you could knock a guy down and stand right over him while he go down the referee count, and then when he gets up, the fight starts. And that's what happened. I got knocked down, and I was up, and the fight starts. He was standing right there, so I couldn't get away from that.
Yeah, because actually...
But I lost. I can't... Go ahead.
I watched a video of that fight a couple weeks ago, and actually it looked like you were on your way to a stoppage win. You were handling him really easy in those first 4 rounds. My question is this. Going to the Royal Albert Hall, fighting in England, what was that experience like for you?
Hey, man, I was all by myself. I was in another man's hometown, trying to whip him in his own hometown. I was all by myself. Even though I had George Wright as my trainer at that time, professional trainer at that time, but at the same time, I was all by myself, going to another man's hometown, don't know nothing about him, but just going to go and try to whip him. And that's what it was. Just the right time, the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah,
you have to know what you're doing.
And then right after that, you fought Ronnie Harris, Madison Square Garden. That was a unanimous decision loss, which...
You talking about running Ronnie Harris. That was the name. That was him. He was a runny. Hit you and run. Hit you and run. You had to chase this guy.
Yeah.
Hit you and run. Running Ronnie. And they're smart. Because that's the only way that they could beat a Sugar Ray Seals. Hit and run. They couldn't stand there and battle. I was a battler, man.
Yeah, and
a battler.
Before the third Hagler fight, you fought Ayub Kalule, who was a damn good fighter. I think you fought him in Denmark, didn't you? Which would have been...
Denmark, Copenhagen.
Yeah,
Denmark, Copenhagen.
His base of operations, and you lost a majority decision.
Yeah, I thought I won that.
Well,
see,
anytime...
when you go to distant, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, that's what I said, because I was looking at this, and I thought, he lost a majority decision to Kalule. I saw it was in Denmark, and then I automatically assumed that you probably really won that fight.
Yes. When you got to leave your own state to go into another state, you got to watch yourself. You got to be prepared, because anything can happen at any time.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
then
Well,
you got the loss to Hagler. Then you came back. I think you had a draw with Mike Colbert. You had 4 or 5
yes.
straight wins. Then you fought Dwight Davison, who's a guy that I think people really forget about, but he was the #1 contender for like a couple years. And you
Yes,
lost
he
the
was.
TKO to him. And then we get to Jamie Thomas, which was a fight that you had some problems in, to say the least. You want to talk to us a little bit about the Jamie Thomas fight?
Well, yeah, I couldn't see. I got thumbed in the eye. I got thumbed in the eye in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Jamie Thomas. And I knocked him over the top rope. He really gouged me in my left eye, and man, from then on, I had problems. I couldn't see here, and I couldn't see there. But you know something? I want to tell you something. In New York City, the doctors, they give you an eye chart. They check with you, put you in a cold room, open up the window, and you freeze yourself off. This is what they did to me when I fought Ayub Kaluli. This is what happened. They knew I had eye problem. The doctors knew that I had eye problem. They could put the finger in my face and my eye would go somewhere. They knew I had problems. But in order to win and to get a shot at the world title, you had to beat Sugar Ray Seals. So they told their fighters, the other fighter, the coaches, that I had an eye problem, and for them to aim at that eye. They was aiming at my left eye all night long, and I just didn't like that. So I whooped this cat. And then all of a sudden now everybody's saying, well, Sugar Ray got a bad eye. Why I got a bad eye now? Because I'm winning with it.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. You have to lose. You got a bad eye, you can't see, and you lose. No. I didn't believe I had an eye problem, except for when Jamie Thomas thumbed me in the eye. Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah, and the thing is this, how long did you fight after that fight where you were impaired and couldn't really see? You fought for a couple years after that, didn't you?
I retired in 84.
Yeah. And
I kept going. I retired in 84.
Yeah, the thing is,
And
you won a title defense, or your NABF title, against Sammy Nesmith in Indianapolis.
Yes.
I mean, you beat John LaCicero, who was a solid fighter, and then you lost a unanimous decision to James Taylor. So when you look at this, even fighting blind, you were still a top 10 guy.
Exactly. Here when I did, just before I retired, I was Vito Antifermo's main sparring partner for when he fought that 15-round draw with Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I was his only sparring partner because I knew all about Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and I helped this guy. And you know what's going on now? We stay in control. We stay in contact with each other. Vito Antifermo.
Oh,
I'm getting ready to go to
hook him up so I can have him on my show.
Yeah, I'm going to the Hall of Fame in June, and we're going to get together, man, and we're going to go from there. But yeah, these are my guys, man. We know each other, and we appreciate the thing that we did for each other. And this is what Vito Antifermo is saying to me today. Thank you, Shug. I really appreciate it. Yeah. You know something? I'm with Craig Hogg, man, and we just drive, and we go looking for greatness. That's what we do. We run into everybody, man. It's ridiculous. It's real ridiculous. Bernard Hopkins. Yes, it's ridiculous. But we're doing this. We love this, man.
Yeah,
and so that's what we do.
I know that you had some tough times after you retired with losing the eyesight, a lot of medical bills and everything. But talk to us. Craig, heck of a guy. I think he was a solid professional boxer. I think he was like 65-12, 65-13.
Yeah.
Knocked down Hector Camacho. But kind of talk
to us
about...
That's his main deal there. That's his main star right there for dropping Hector. The second guy that could do that. Can't everybody do that?
Yeah.
But he did.
Talk to us a little bit about the impact that Craig has had on your life.
Hey, man, I never had a best friend like this guy before, man. And when he calls me to do anything, to go anywhere, to meet anybody, I say, come pick me up because I know where he's going. We're out there seeking greatness, and that's what we find, greatness. I mean, it's ridiculous to know this white guy here, man, and he can take me to meet all of these guys, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But you never know who you know until you meet that person. And that's why Craig and I, we're like peas and carrots, man. We're together.
Yeah.
I don't know if
And
peas and carrots go together, but it's salad.
I want to plug Craig's event this weekend, the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame, having their first ever induction. They're bringing Marvin Johnson in. And Marvin Johnson was a guy that I didn't know this till the other day, but he's not even in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, which I think is a travesty, number one. And number two, he's a man that won an Olympic medal in 1972 on the same team you were on.
Yes, he scored a bronze medal. He took his bronze medal and became 3-time light heavyweight champion of the world. You know what I mean? See, a lot of fighters, they get a bronze medal, and that's their fight is over. Because if they didn't get the gold, then they're not going any further. But Marvin changed that. He said, because I'm an Olympic bronze medalist, that means I'm a winner. Yeah. So I'm going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing. And he became 3-time light heavyweight champ. Matter of fact, last Saturday, I was in his place. We just having fun, and me, Craig, and Marvin and his wife, and we just talking and just getting on Facebook and just having fun because this is what this guy needs.
Oh, and the thing is, the thing that's most impressive about Marvin, and I talked to him on the phone a couple months ago, trying to get him to come on the show. He won't yet, but I'm working on it still. But the thing that impressed me was just how good of a man he was and how his family supersedes anything in his life.
Yes. What a guy, man. Well, I'm telling you, if you're not standing by him or sitting by him, you really wouldn't know Marvin Johnson.
Yeah, and this is
he's not the guy that's out. He's not that guy out there that's beating up people. He's another person. Personally, when you're sitting with him, different person, man. He's 2 guys in one.
Yeah, and you're looking at a guy that beat Victor Galindez, who was an all-time great light heavyweight to win that title.
Yes.
He fought everybody, Michael Spinks. His fights with Matthew Saad Muhammad, those 2 fights, to me, are better than the Gotti Ward trilogy. And the fact that they put Gotti in because of those 3 wars, and I don't have a problem with it. Gotti did a lot of great things for boxing. But when you look, Marvin Johnson was in just as many wars as Gotti was, only he was a lot higher level fighter.
Here's what we're going to talk about. Marvin Johnson is Indianapolis first. Marvin Johnson, Indianapolis first in the Hall of Fame because of what he did way back with Champ Taney and the rest. And how he gave his heart, he gave his all to be the person that he is today. Mr. IBG or Mr. Indianapolis, Indiana Hall of Famer. Marvin Johnson.
And when you look at him, I think he's the greatest boxer in the history of Indiana. I mean, and also, I know that you guys are going to bring in Tony Zale. Well, not bring him in because he's passed away, but his brother, Ted, I think it was, who wrote the book about him, is going to be there. Layman Brewster, who was the first heavyweight champion in the history of Indiana, is going to be there. I know Fred Burns, who helped bring boxing to Indiana, network TV boxing, with Marvin Johnson. I know he's going to be there also, and that is from 12:30 to 4 in Indianapolis.
12 o'clock until 12 o'clock until 4:30 on Saturday.
Yeah, at the Holiday Inn in Carmel, Indiana. Anybody that wants to go there, find Craig on Facebook. He'll talk to anybody. He's a great guy. You can also hit him up on Twitter. And you can get tickets. I think the tickets are like $30 for VIP, $15 for regular tickets. You can meet guys like Marvin Johnson. All the Hall of Fame inductees will be there, of course, except Tony Zale, who can't be for obvious reasons. And also,
his son will be there.
Yeah. Also, you'll have guys like Tom Boom Boom Johnson, who was a really good featherweight champion, who lost to Nazim Hamed. I think he got stopped in the 8th round over in England when he lost the title. But he was a hell of a fighter.
Yes.
Angel Manfredi, Adolphus Washington. J. Russell Peltz is going to be there also, isn't he?
Well, see, now you got names. Now you got names that mean something. This Hall of Famer for Marvin Johnson is going to be great. Because if you don't show, I'm sorry that you'll miss. You don't want to miss this. This is the first time that Indianapolis, Indiana has a boxing hall of fame. You want to be there. You want to be part of it. You want to have your picture taken. You want to love the champion because he loves you.
Yeah,
That's
and
how we
you've
do that.
got, I think Russell Peltz is actually inducting Marvin Johnson into that Hall of Fame. And Russell Peltz was huge in East Coast boxing. All those old wars at the Spectrum with guys like Marvin Hagler, Bobby Boogaloo Watts, Benny Briscoe, Cyclone Hart. I mean, you've got a ton of boxing history there on Saturday. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, or even if you got to drive a few hours, I think this is more than worth the time. There's a lot of guys, and it's why we do this show, a lot of guys that kind of get forgotten. You know, even world champions, people just kind of forget about them. They replace them with the newest. And the thing is this, we wouldn't have what we had today without guys like you, Russell Peltz, Marvin Johnson, Craig Houck. You guys are the reason that boxing is what it is today. And
well,
I think also you guys are the reason it's hard for boxing to live up to what it used to be.
We're working hard, man. We're trying to get the best out. We're trying to teach people about the game. It's not a ruthless game. It's a real game. It's all about boxing. It's all about who's out there and doing what. Because that's what you're looking for. I'm out there fighting for you. And if you come to see me, then you're going to get what you come to see. Me fighting for you.
Yeah, and the thing
That's how
is,
we do
Ray,
that.
when we talk about boxers, I also do a football show, NFL players, baseball, basketball. And boxers, I don't think that I've ever met a boxer in person or doing a show where when I got done, I thought, man, that guy's an asshole. I have done that with baseball players, but boxers are the most down-to-earth athletes. I think a lot of that is that they're not coddled. You can't be like the 30th ranked contender making a couple $1 million a year. These are all guys that earned what they got.
Hey, man, we're real. We're real, man. Listen, when I started boxing professional, I was making $50 a round. Did you hear what I said? $50 a round. Now here you get a chance to make $100,000 a round.
Yeah.
Oh man, how has the game advanced in the money department? Why? It's because of you. The performance that you're going to give, why not pay for it?
Yeah.
That's how we
the
do.
thing is, when you look, you talk about you won the gold medal in 72, you were the only one. 76, that great team with Leonard, all those guys.
Howard Davis, Leo Randolph, the Spinks brothers. You know why that happened? Because half of the team that was at Munich boycotted Canada. Yeah. So we was able to win, and I ain't going to say that we wasn't going to win that, but we was there to do that.
Yeah, but my point is this. If you don't have the problem in Munich, I think that maybe you turn pro making a lot more than $50 because let's face it, everything that happened in the 72 Summer Olympics was overshadowed by the Munich terrorism.
Yes.
And a lot
everything
of this
went under the...
Yeah, a lot of this is being in the right place at the right time. You know, if you're 4 years later and you win it in 1976, your first fight you're probably making $20,000 instead of $50 a round.
Well, listen, man, I made $400, and Leonard made $1 million.
Yeah.
For the same 4 rounds. $400, and he made $1 million. See, so it's telling you now, it ain't what you know, it's who you know.
Oh, it's like that no matter what you do in life. I mean,
they came in at the right time.
Yeah. They came in
They
perfectly.
came in at the right time.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard was a guy that, I mean, was kind of like the smaller version of Muhammad Ali. Not that anybody can ever be Muhammad Ali, but...
Well, no.
Yeah, because I know I've talked to people before that, who was it? Randy Shields. You remember Randy Shields, the old welterweight contender?
Yes,
I
sir.
was talking to him, and he said they went in 1972, I think, to like Italy, and Leonard wasn't even fighting on the team. He just went with him, and nobody even knew he was a boxer. but he said when all the kids came out to meet the United States boxing team that was there, even though nobody knew who he was, he said everybody just flocked to Ray Leonard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was the charisma and the personality helped there. But let's face it, if you put Howard Davis in 1972, he's not making the money he made when he came out.
Well, you see, Howard Davis was the best fighter in 1976. He outshined Leonard, but all of a sudden, it wasn't about him anymore. It's about Sugar Ray Leonard because the name, Sugar. Go back to 2, 3, 4, you get 20 years, Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson. The name. But you know something about Sugar Ray Robinson? I'm telling you something. His name was Walker Smith.
Yeah.
Walker Smith stepped up in Sugar Ray's shoes because Sugar Ray got sick, and he became the famous, great Hall of Famer, Sugar Ray Robinson. Now, where's that guy at? How can we find Sugar Ray Robinson, the real Sugar Ray Robinson? He dead and gone.
Yep. Great fighter, though.
Super, man. Super.
But
the name itself. And that's what we use.
All right, Ray. I really want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a pleasure to meet you a couple weeks ago. And the thing that I've got to ask you is this. I mean, that 1972 Olympic gold medal, it has to really do something for you when you take it to places. And, like, I'm friends with Joe Kelly, and Joe was there with me. And Joe played in Super Bowl 23, played over a decade in the NFL. And he went Friday night to the meet and greet, and I didn't. And he's texted me, like, Friday night. He's all excited. I just met Sugar Ray Seals, and I got to hold an Olympic gold medal. And, I mean, the stuff there, just to see the look on people's faces when they're in the presence of greatness like that, of that gold medal, I mean, that has to still, I mean, that may be bigger than winning it, the fact that 40 or 50 years later, that you could walk around and spread so much joy just by letting people see that. Yeah,
that's what I do, man. That's what I do. I put it on. I went to where Muhammad Ali's boxing is at. It's in
down Louisville,
Kentucky, Louisville. I went to Louisville, man, and I ran into Evander Holyfield. Oh hell, what a guy! What a guy. But when I went to Louisville, man, the gold medal meant something different. There was more feeling in that gold medal for everybody to hold on to the word. And I met the mayor or the governor of Louisville at the fight, Evander Holyfield fight. I met him. And I put my gold medal around his neck, and then all of a sudden I put it around his little boy's neck. And then he came back, as I'm sitting, he gave me a medal.
Yeah.
He said because he loved just what I did for his son. By putting the gold medal around his son, letting his son feel it and have fun and smile about it, and the whole world. And all of a sudden I become a friend of the governor.
Yeah.
Just like that. Muhammad Ali said to me in an autograph before he died, he said to the champ, service to others is a rent we pay for our room in heaven.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yep.
That's what the champ said to me. He said, the Lord said, you just got to give, man. Don't worry about giving because I already got you. Just keep giving. So that's what I do. I was a high school teacher for 17 years, and I worked with the autistic program, autism. Oh, I helped a lot of family. I saved a lot of children in high school by just doing what I do, being competitive. A boxer, world champ, being competitive, being able to share, to give, man. And when I give something, I get something back. I don't look for it, but it's coming. The Lord said, don't worry about it. You're going to get it. And so I do what Muhammad said. Service to others is a rent we pay for our room in heaven. So I'm going to put my gold medal around your neck, and all of a sudden I got you right there because all of a sudden you never had that opportunity. And just that's what it is. So that's what we work with.
All right, and everybody, if you want to meet Sugar Ray Seals, Craig Howe, Marvin Johnson, Fred Burns, Russell Peltz, Lamont Brewster, Make sure you go to the Holiday Inn, Indianapolis, in Carmel, noon Saturday. You can go online, hook up with Craig Houck. He'll take care of you. If you have any questions and you need info and you want Craig to get in touch with you, you can hit me up at The Grueling Truth on Twitter also. We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up, Ray. It was an honor having you on. I want to remind everybody that they can hear us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Sugar Ray Seals, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.